What's good, friends? Ebony Chappelle checking in here with a little more positivity for your podcast listening and viewing pleasure. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of What's Good with Ebony Chappelle. So before we jump into it, be sure to like and subscribe, rate and review the show. Thank you to everyone that's been so positive so far, giving great feedback and engaging with me online. I definitely appreciate the support. You can connect with me on social media at Ebony the Writer. You can also go onto my website, ebonychappelle.com, to find out more about what's been going on with me. So today's show, I am so excited. I am talking with Tanorria and Candace of Black Girls Eating. This podcast, if you haven't listened to it, is amazing. If you are a Black girl that is into food and all the decadent things that go along with that, this is definitely the show for you. So excited to talk to them today about what some of their favorite food things are right now, about the connection between pleasure and luxuriousness and Black women enjoying food, as well as some of the flip side to that as well. So you guys have to stay tuned to see where that conversation goes. But before we jump into all of that, I want to tell you guys about what's good with me. What's been good with me lately is enjoying some time to myself. You know, that is something that is easy to take for granted when you are busy ripping and running, as my grandma used to say. When you have so many things on your plate, sometimes it can be very easy to neglect that part of just taking some time just to be, you know, solo dolo for a minute, spend some time with yourself. So one of the things that happened for me at the start of the pandemic was being able to develop a really specific morning routine for myself. I'd always been one of those people that wanted to have a morning routine, wanted to wake up at a specific time every day and have things that I did before I jumped into the hustle and bustle of work and community stuff and everything else. And it was very difficult to get that started. You know, I had been so used to just letting my agenda run my day, letting outside obligations run my day, that I didn't take the time, I didn't exercise the discipline to carve out that space for myself. So I finally gotten to the point after, you know, training my body and different stuff like that, to wake up and go to sleep at a different time, to get up way earlier than is necessary to be able to take that time for myself in the morning. And it has done wonders. I know that there's still some room for growth there, but just having time in the morning to meditate for a little bit, be able to listen to a podcast while I'm getting ready for the day, make a cup of tea, just different things like that. Really, really helpful to my everyday life. And for those of you that are listening that have kids that you have to get off to school, you have other people that you take care of, you're probably listening to this like, wow, that, you know, sounds luxurious. It does. It does. And I also recognize the fact that it is extremely privileged to say shit like that. Oh, you know, I get up in the morning, I make a cup of tea, and I do this, I do that. So, yeah, my apologies if I come off like one of those people right now. That has no regard or understanding for what the rest of the world actually looks like. So my apologies if this comes off that way. But, you know, seriously, even if it's the 2 minutes or so that you spend brushing your teeth in the morning, if you could take that time and think about something positive for the day, just for yourself, or take a moment to just take some deep breaths when your feet hit the floor in the morning, every little bit counts. So even if you have babies to take care of, you know, and things like that, I think it's important and imperative that you take that time for yourself. So that's what's been good with me lately. So this episode's Pay Black Women Spotlight is going to serve as the perfect intro to our conversation today. So, our Pay Black Women Spotlight is dedicated to Tanorria and Candace, the ladies of Black Girls Eating podcast. So, for those of you that are not familiar with them, you're going to learn so much in today's episode. But Candace is a food entrepreneur. She is the brilliant mind behind FoodLoveTog. If you are a Chef Oya fan, for those of you that are in the Indianapolis area, you know about Chef Oya. If you are a fan, the seasoning that is used on that food comes from Candace from FoodLoveTog. So that young bay seasoning that is on the food comes from her. Also, Tanorria, she's been on MasterChef. She competed on that show, and she just released a cookbook not too long ago called Staples Plus 5, which teaches you how to use your pantry. Having a good stocked pantry is important, you know, if you want to be able to turn meals out pretty simply, having that good put together pantry. But her book, Staples Plus 5, teaches you how to use those staples in your pantry with 5 other ingredients to create a phenomenal meal. So definitely want to check that out. So without further ado, we're going to jump into it, to our conversation today with Candace and Tanorria of Black Girls Eating Podcast. Well, I want to start out. I always like to ask people what's good with them. So, what's good? It could be anything that's going on with you today or in your life that is just bringing you a little bit of joy. So, Candace, I'll get started with you. What's good with you?
What's good with me? Netflix, Netflix, popcorn, just relaxing. I'm looking forward to the good parts of spring, like seeing the sun out. Like that's good. It gives me joy. It gives me strength. Like I need the sun, so that's what's good with me. All those outside things that are making things better.
Yeah, that certainly helps. That weather, it just helps bring out a whole new side of us. I feel like a new person when the sun is shining.
Yeah, a whole new person.
Absolutely, absolutely. Tenoria, what about you? What's good with you?
What's good with me? Good coffee is good with me. Um, the sun, definitely the sun, and I feel like I'm going into a month of kind of like when with the spring. I always remember in like grade school they talk about the rain and spring brings new life and new things and a freshness. And so I feel like I'm going into a season of that, but at my own pace, and that is real good.
Awesome, awesome. Well, you said good coffee. Do you have a specific brand that's working for you right now?
The Patachu blueberry coffee is my favorite. That's currently what I'm drinking, but I just picked up a cherry blossom blend
Mm.
from a place called Compass Coffee in Washington, D.C. So I'm very excited to just savor that with slow sips in the morning.
That sounds so good.
That does sound good. When you said cherry blossom, I immediately jumped to Washington, D.C. I've been seeing my favorite housewives. I don't know if you guys are housewives watchers, but I am a Potomac stan. So I've seen Karen Huger and Giselle post about, frolicking through the cherry
Mhm.
blossoms.
I just did that last week. It was a bucket list thing of mine to go to DC during cherry blossom season, and I just so happened to be there, and it was magical.
You literally have like a
Oh,
second and then they're gone. Like
Yes.
they bloom and then they're gone. So yeah,
Yeah. They were like, oh, the next rain, they'll be gone.
be
And
gone.
I
Yeah.
made it.
wow. Wow. So I'm going to have to keep that in mind that this is a very limited
Hmm.
experience, limited
Mhm.
time
Yeah.
experience. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm glad that you got to experience it. For sure. So, Black Girls Eating. I found out about you guys. One, I'm follow both of you and love your work, love what y'all are doing in food and in the community. And when I first listened to the podcast, I immediately had to just binge everything I had missed to that point and then catch up and listen all the time ever since. So, tell me a little bit about how Black Girls Eating came about.
Um,
So you want me to
Go
go?
for
You,
it. Nope, you
okay.
go for it.
So Tanner and I have hosted several events together. Um, we started out with Indy Women in Food, the DiverseCity Series, and we've co-moderated those, about 4 or 5 of them together. And we did a creative mornings together. And we actually started talking about our podcast about 3 years ago. And we were like, okay, well, it kind of just sat on the back burner. We both had other things we were doing with our businesses, respectively. And after hosting several things together, we're like, we really, really, really need to get this done. And then just so happens we were stuck at home. Thanks to a little thing called a pandemic that's still going on. So we were able to kind of really hone in and get our outline done and decide on who we wanted to produce, decide on where we wanted to record, and Black Girls Eating was formed. And I mean, we went back and forth just even on our logo. Like, people don't understand. Like, when we say it's a labor of love, like down to the color of the earrings and the logo, down to the color of the lipstick, down to if we're gonna have a fork or if we're gonna have it's little things like that. So every little bit of the detail in our podcast we take seriously. So that's how we started.
Even the name of it, like when we first sat down and talked about it over lunch, I don't even know that we decided it was a podcast. Right. I think it was just a brand that I was like, we should do this. And Candace was like, yes, we should. Started like searching for different names. And so I think it's had 2 other names before we locked this one in. Because it was destined that we needed to work together on a regular basis. The DiverseCity Series for Indy Women in Food were great, but they were just once a quarter. And so finding a way to I guess collaborate and to build relationship with each other, relationship with other people, we knew that there needed to be some consistency in that. And so we didn't even know what it was going to look like at the beginning. And the more and more we did the DiverseCity Series, the more and more we talked, then we were like, okay, this needs to be a podcast. And still, it took time after that, like Candace said, for us to like decide who's going to produce it. It was very, very important. I'd even say a requirement that our very first episode was as quality as the episodes you're hearing now in season 3. There is no change, because we wanted to make sure that what we were putting out there would sustain from the very beginning.
Excellent. I want to pick up on something you mentioned about it was destined for you all to work together. What was it about you all connecting that really made you feel, okay, this is something that we have to keep doing?
Especially when we are on a stage. She is the yin to my yang. We complete each other's sentences. It's like we have the same thought. Sometimes I even wonder, like, did I just say that? Or did she just say that? And I just said it again differently, because we are just on the same wavelength, especially on stage. But even when we are working behind the scenes on the podcast, oftentimes I will text her and say, what do you think about this? And she'll say, this is what I think. And I'm like, crap, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
And so
it's seamless.
We would be silly not to take advantage of that kind of ability to have a solid working relationship. And I think the reason why we've been able to continue to do it is because we constantly remind each other that we are friends first, business partners second.
Right.
Absolutely. And Candace, that is a perfect spot for you to jump in, because you said it's seamless. And I wanted to know more about that, because I think that this is important too. There are so many, different examples out there around what teamwork looks like, both on the good and the bad end. So I think it's important to celebrate and to hone in on these good examples, because they can teach us all. Like, we can all learn a little bit from this. But the friends first aspect, what do you think about that? How is that illustrated?
It really has been it's a love affair. It really is. I mean, from the moment, I don't think a lot of people know that how Tanorria and I met was really happenstance, right? I mean, we say happenstance, but we really know that God ordained moments happen all the time, right? So I watched Tanorria on MasterChef, and I stand Tanorria before like we knew each other, and so my cousin introduced us, and she's like, "Hey, you need to really get in contact with her. She goes to my church. She's on MasterChef." I'm like, "You mean the Tanorria that I'm watching on MasterChef?" She's like, "Yeah." And so she's like, I'm gonna get her some spices. Can you do that? I'm like, absolutely. So I got, and it was just literally like, I love you. I'm rooting for you. I want you to win. And it was literally a love affair. Is kind of how we started. And so when you kind of make a foundation of friendship and you make a foundation of supporting each other without any, I don't want anything from you, you don't want anything from me, then then you have a solid, friendship and a solid base point to say, okay, like I'm here for you, you're here for me. What else? What else can we ask for when you have that genuine support and genuine teamwork from the jump? It takes years to kind of build something like this. And Tori and I have now been friends about 6 years, but still, from the moment I even saw her on MasterChef, I'm like, I just want this Black girl to win. This Black girl is on TV. I'm rooting for her. She's got Indiana roots. And then knowing that she knew my cousin made it even sweeter. So yeah, it's just been a love affair from the jump. So that's kind of why our teamwork is so strong and so fulfilling and so rewarding.
Yeah. And that love definitely shows through when you listen to the show and listen to how you all banter back and forth and interact with one another. It also shows in your guests. So when you have your guest on there, it's like just standing all over the place, and all this love and joyousness is beautiful. And also in the way that you talk about food, the way that you all talk about food. And I think that's what draws me in, because I'm a food person as well. One of my favorite activities, like I can't think of anything that I enjoy more. I enjoy more than eating things that are delicious. So I just appreciate hearing, especially Black women, talk about that, because as a person that watches and consumes and listens to so much food content, you don't always hear, voices that you can connect with on that kind of level. I want to dive in on the way you guys talk about food. It's so luxurious, it's so decadent, and it feels very, very pleasurable. So I want to hear you guys just kind of riff on the connection between food and pleasure, especially coming from a Black woman's perspective.
I've always thought that food was sexy.
There we go.
Like when the art of preparing it, specifically the art of sharing it, is intimate, and it doesn't have to be sexual intimacy, but it's just a very intimate, delicate, should be authentic process. When someone is making something for someone, it is a labor of love, and then I'm turning around and sharing that with someone. So whether I'm sitting across the table with someone and we're at a restaurant having this intimate, vulnerable experience of eating in front of each other, or I've prepared the meal or they've prepared the meal for me, that doesn't happen often. And when it does, it's glorious. And so I just feel like food is a connector. It is a way, an avenue to vulnerability and intimacy. And so I feel like all of those things point to pleasure in some shape or form.
I agree. I think it's one thing I always say: if I cook for you, you know that I love you. I welcome you into my kitchen, which is one of my most vulnerable spaces. It's the space where I don't have to worry about who is watching me. I don't have to be perfect. I can just be myself. I can let my hair down. And it's where I put every part of me into something. So if I'm making you, for instance, my young bay salmon, which is, now I can make with my eyes closed. I've been making it so long, but it's still a labor of love. I want you to enjoy it.
Yep.
And I think sharing and just the connectivity and learning something, you learn so much when you're cooking with someone or cooking for someone. You learn about what they like, you learn about what they dislike, you learn how food is connected to memory and how memory is connected to pleasure. It's all those different things. It's something that makes your senses come alive. And I think people don't realize just how much you use every single part of yourself when you're making a dish, when you're serving a dish, when you're enjoying a dish. Because Tanorria and I have gone places and we've had the same dish and gotten two different experiences.
Yep.
We've also had the same dish and been like, girl, why did they do that? So, it just shows you just how powerful food is. And it really is. We say this all the time. Food is a connector of people. Two things that connect people: music and food.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like we all got to eat. So it's something we all have in common, even if it's cross-cultural, even if it's, difference in socioeconomic status, which dictates the kind of food that we get.
Mhm.
We still all have to eat. It's still an opportunity to meet each other where we're at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think so. I'm trying to figure out the best way to word this, but there's a thought that's floating around for me about the difference between like the way that you all described your enjoyment of this experience and sharing it with others versus experiences where Black women have had to be subservient in those roles and not necessarily get to the enjoyment part of it. And I don't know, that's just something that has been floating around for me because I'm a person that also enjoys cooking, enjoys sharing it with people. But then I have struggles when it's turned into an obligation or an expectation of some sort. And I'm like, okay, hold on. Because too often, when I look at various parts of my life and other Black women that are around me and look at various parts of our lives, it's like, okay, there's all these other expectations around. It's like, why does this still have to be that?
Like who's fixing the plate type stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, don't even get me started on that one because the fact that that's still an argument is so weird.
It's so weird. It's asinine when you think about it. I think for a long time as Black women, we did not believe we deserved to enjoy things. Right? Like we literally thought, okay, I'm here to work, I'm here to serve, and I don't get to enjoy the fact that I made this delicious meal and I love it. It's something that I enjoy, but I don't get to enjoy it. Like I'm doing all of this for everybody else, and nothing about me is appreciated in this moment. Nothing about me is seen in this moment. Nothing about me is valued in this moment. And I think watching my mother and my grandmother make these elaborate meals, and then by the end of the day, they'd be exhausted. And I'm like,
yes,
for what? Like, thank you, but for what? Like, no, we're not going to do that. And so for me, just taking back the fact that I deserve luxury, that I deserve decadence. I mean, one thing me and my wife always joke about, I'm like, I don't care how broke we are. I always got money for food.
Absolutely. Money for food and to get my hair done, always.
I mean, it's just, those are, and we deserve that. And I think society has absolutely, just drowned it in our faces that you don't deserve this. I mean, when we see Black women getting thrown off a wine train, that right there shows you that we're not seen to be able to enjoy something.
Yeah.
I feel like I have a little perspective as a personal chef. So as a personal chef, when I am preparing a menu, working with a person, and then at their house cooking for them, it's work. And I enjoy providing that service to them. I enjoy them being able to sit back and not have to worry about the hustle and bustle of hosting. But I also recognize that 90% of my clients are not people of color. And so I always go into any home I go into knowing that I'm a Black woman entering more than likely a white person's house to provide a service. And that does have certain overhanging arches, right? But I have found a way to make it a part of my job that I enjoy. The writing the menu, the actual cooking, hearing their response about the food, knowing that I helped them host, those are enjoyable components to me. But at the end of it, I'm exhausted. I have to wear compression socks because I'm getting older. I got to like tape up my back and take Epsom salt baths after because I'm exhausted. When it is a Sunday afternoon and I just decide I'm going to the grocery store to cook a Sunday dinner, I am honoring my grandmother. I'm honoring my mom. It's nostalgic for me. It makes me feel good. I could be in the kitchens for hours, but I don't get tired. I don't feel sore. And so there's something about cooking for myself or cooking for my loved ones. There's something about the slow process of just cooking just because and not cooking within a time schedule or not cooking a very specific menu, but just cooking what I feel that day. That's the difference for me. And when I'm doing that Sunday dinner, or last Saturday, which I hardly ever cook on Saturdays, but last Saturday I made a pot of gumbo. And that for me was just self-care. That for me was relaxing and listening to my ancestors on how much of what to put in the pot. Don't do that as much when you're hosting a dinner party. You're very strategic, and that's okay. That's my job. But I recognize to separate the two and be able to have my passion as my job and as my hobby.
See, I knew that y'all were just gonna take it there, and I'm so glad, selfishly, that I asked that question because I really, really wanted to know what you guys thought. So to switch over to a little bit of ratchet question asking,
I love it so much.
absolutely. So, what are some? Because there's so many places I could go with this. There are some accounts. I'm not gonna say their names because y'all are like really moving and grooving in this food life, and I don't want y'all to have unnecessary haters on my account because some shit gets on my nerves. But there are certain pages that post these quick little cute cooking videos, and they're doing completely ridiculous things. And then some of these trends go viral. So my niece is always trying to get me to eat like Takis mixed with some other crazy shit. And I'm like, sis, what is this? Oh, it's on TikTok. This is a thing. And I'm like, that's disgusting. Like, why are we eating that?
Why are we here?
You said what now?
Why are we here? Like, how did we get here?
I think the worst one was the watermelon with mustard.
Okay, so I never even watched that one because weird.
Like, did you accidentally have a little mustard on your plate from your hot dog and your watermelon was next to it, and that inspired you to say, let me, I tasted it, no big deal? Or did you really say, I just want to do something stupid? Put it on the
wasteful. Just wasteful.
Very wasteful. So what are some more of these online food trends that y'all wish would just die and never come back again? We got the watermelon and mustard.
Okay, it may not necessarily be a trend, but the idea that people don't need to really season their food.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Like, there's a whole brand that has built their entire platform on salt and pepper, and I'm not even kidding.
Wow.
And I'm like, in my mind, I get it, but no. Like, no. And seasoning does not equal spicy.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
garlic powder's good for you.
Yeah, it's just
garlic is good for you. Oh, yeah.
It's bothersome.
Yeah.
Yeah, very strange.
I'm a little tired of Alfredo everything.
Oh. Especially in the Black community, salmon everything. You do not need to do all of that to salmon.
Oh God, yeah.
And when you said Alfredo, I immediately thought of salmon Alfredo.
And the thing is, like, when we're in quarantine, I get it, because all you can do is eat and cook. That's all you can do. That's all you can do. But now, like, let's kind of like, branch out and expand our horizons here.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, like Candace said, it's not so much a trend. It is more frustrating for me to watch these things that go viral and they lack fundamental cooking technique. Like, you need to saute your mushrooms to a certain point before you add other stuff to the skillet.
Right.
Or you need to give your veggies a little bit of caramelization before you add in your meat and your tomato sauce and all of this other stuff if you're making spaghetti sauce or chili or whatever the case may be. And so that it's just frustrating because those people are seen as experts and it's on accident. Whereas you have people like Candace and myself and people like Chef Oya and Chef Tia and all these other people who have are continuing to constantly master our craft, constantly learn, constantly get better, constantly experiment to figure out what's going to make food taste even better. And there's people who just throw some stuff in a skillet. They don't do it right. They don't heat the oil before they put the food in the pan.
They don't heat the pan. They don't even heat the
pan. They don't put the seasoning in at the right time to let it bloom. All of that just, it boils my blood. It really does.
It stresses me out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see the stress. I hear the stress. It is very present. It is very present.
But the thing is, cooking is not just something to do. Cooking is a life skill.
Yeah.
It teaches science.
Yep.
It teaches judgment.
It
It
teaches
teaches
art.
budgeting. It teaches art. It
Mm-hmm.
teaches creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes to so many different things. And when you skip portions of it, you leave people feeling like they're the problem when it's not actually it's the
Right.
recipe was wrong, or the tasty video missed out the fact that you're supposed to let something thaw first, or you're supposed to freeze something first, or you didn't use the right oil first. I mean, all these different things. I've witnessed people be very upset and feel like cooking is something bad and
Yeah.
that they can't do it
It's
because
stressful.
all of this information that's coming at them is making them seem like they're the problem when in actuality it's not them.
And I appreciate, Candace, that you said the problem, because as you were listing the things that cooking does for you, cooking builds problem solving skills.
Right.
But if you don't know the fundamentals, you can't problem solve.
Can't problem solve.
Absolutely. Knowing how to work through those problems for sure. And I like what you said, Candace, also about people feeling like cooking isn't for them. It was mentioned that this is a life skill, and I just think that it's sad that people can, go through these experiences and feel like I can never cook for myself. I can never cook for my family, and it being so difficult. What if you were to give one piece of advice for someone that actually does desire, to build that skill up within themselves? What would you tell them?
I would tell them, when your mother, your grandmother, your aunts are in the kitchen, not only do you write, but you record.
Glean.
Glean as much as you can, because I'm telling you, we're losing recipes at a rapid rate. And and I say this in all sincerity, it is scary. We're going to have a whole generation that has missed what it is to make something as simple as a roux.
Yep.
Yeah.
That has missed what it is to break down a chicken.
Yep.
That has missed how to make gravy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's not lost on me, because that was my life. That's how I learned to cook. It's by gleaning in the kitchen. That's why my daughter, whenever I'm cooking, Mommy, can I help? Absolutely. Come on, you can stir. She knows how to do all these different things at 8, because she's going to grow up one day, and she's going to leave me. And if she can't feed herself, I failed as a parent. If you can't do something as simple as make yourself a meal.
Yeah. And I think it's beautiful that you allow her to be in there, because I know for me, I had to really fight to be allowed in, because my grandma was like, no, it's fine. I'll just do it myself. On both sides, they very much were like, I'll just do everything myself. And I'm like, well, I have to figure out stuff somehow. So eventually you wasn't granted access, but that was a hard road.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I would say that specifically for people who are stressed out or afraid to cook, relax. Cooking's not scary. It does not bite. You are the one in control of the ingredients. The ingredients and the equipment is not in control of you. And I would also say read the recipe all the way through before whether it's grandma's recipe or a recipe out of my cookbook or a recipe you found on the internet. Read it step by step, because you will get stumped. And if you don't have that technique, that's where problem solving is going to be a problem.
Right.
Absolutely.
And make notes in your cookbooks.
Yeah.
You said what now?
Make notes in your cookbooks. I mean, if you know that you don't want to use heavy cream in something, write that down so that you can keep that. And the next time that you make it, I go back to my recipe books all the time, just because I'm like, I actually forgot how to make this. So like,
it's a great surprise. It's like a gift when you go back in a cookbook you haven't touched in a while. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, like hidden treasures. I love that. So what, Tanorria, I'll start with you. What are some of your favorite food things that you're enjoying right now?
Ooh, favorite food things I'm enjoying right now. I am loving avocado toast at home. I actually do not enjoy avocado toast out in restaurants, so I'm okay with not paying $15 for it. I'm loving it at home because I toast my bread in butter. And I cook my egg in butter and I season it well. I season the avocado toast or the avocado well. And so I'm really enjoying that at home. And I am also enjoying the spring flavors that are starting to slowly pop up. I always say when you see produce on sale in the grocery store, that's more than likely the produce that's in season. So I'm starting to see those things pop up, and I really love spring flavors. Lemon is one of my favorite, and so I feel like spring I could put lemon in everything. So yeah, those are the things that I'm enjoying, specifically lemon and seafood.
Lovely, lovely. Candace, what about you? Favorite food things you're enjoying right now?
Oh gosh. Like Tanorria, I am a huge toast eater. I love a good toast. Right now it's probably croissant toast. It has me in a chokehold.
I need to try that with avocado toast.
Oh, let me just tell you, it'll change your life.
Yes, I need to
I love this.
It's so good. Really trying new flavors. Like we do a Taco Tuesday every week in our house. So it may be something like 1 week we may use pork, we may use brisket, we may use turkey, we may have ground beef, but we're doing something. So doing something fun with tacos is kind of my thing. I found these new really good chips that are amazing out of this little brand out of Michigan. They're just so yummy. I eat like a bag a week by myself. It's bad. And then really, really good coffee. I am like Tanorria. She likes the blueberry, but I like the Highlander grog from Patachu.
My husband's favorite.
Oh my God. Like it's good coffee. Like now I'm spoiled. If I go somewhere, like I can even go to Starbucks and get a coffee drink now because I'm like, nah.
I mean, they were never really slapping like that. It's like the convenience.
Not that good.
They have fun flavors. That's where it stops. Their lattes are fun and inventive, but that's where it stops.
Yeah, the coffee. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Awesome. Well, I certainly appreciate all of these great things. I'm looking forward to trying, especially the croissant toast.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good idea. Coming up with all types of things. But yeah, thank you, ladies, so much. It was great talking with you today. How can people get connected to all the things? We have Black Girls Eating. We have FoodLoveTog, Tanorria's Table. How can people get linked up with y'all?
Black Girls Eating is Black Girls Eating on Instagram. We are BGE Pod on Twitter. I am Tanorria's Table everywhere.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I am FoodLoveTog everywhere.
On all the things. Well, thank you all so much. I definitely appreciate y'all's fun talking with you.
Thank you.
Again, thank you so much to Candace and Tanorria for being on the show. Definitely appreciate all of your great wisdom and your thoughts. Appreciate our time together. So be sure to check out Black Girls Eating. I will drop the website in the show notes so that you all can go and support them. Also support your girl. If you are enjoying What's Good with Ebony Chappelle, be sure to like, subscribe, follow, rate, review, all that stuff, wherever it is that you are enjoying the podcast. And as always, have a great time, y'all, and a positive life. Peace.